Reveals she and Will Smith don't have a prenup. Will's not worth 350 M's. Jada's not worth 50 M.
Makes it known that she and Will Smith are not prenuptial. Will isn't worth $350 million. Jada isn't worth $50 million. It seems like every time Jada says something since they took away the red table or whatever TV show it was, her new plan is to ruin Will Smith. Now that we know why Will Smith is putting up with Jada's mess, it's only because of money. Miss Jada has been publicly humiliating Will for years, and everyone has been wondering why Will hasn't just filed for divorce. Since their children are all adults and they have enough money to live separately, it's obvious that neither of them has been happy in their marriage for very long. However, it appears that money may be the root of the problem after all, as Jada recently stated that she and Will never signed a prenup because they both thought divorce was not an option. Fans are now saying that Jada's recent actions may be part of a strategy to push Will into initiating the divorce, because this would require him to split his assets with her. And boy, are the assets huge. I'm talking about millions of dollars. Will, on the other hand, is terrified of divorce. Now he says this because he thinks divorce is the worst failure of his life. But is it really that? Or is he scared that Jada might take away all that he has worked for all these years? Let's get into it, yeah. You know why I never got divorced. It's cheaper to keep me. No, honestly, this day. And Will's situation is getting more ridiculous by the day. And Jada is still going from podcast to talk about her marriage and air out their private business. And none of this is making any sense. At first, a lot of people looked at Will as a victim who'd been whipped by his narcissistic wife. But honestly, it's now starting to look like these two deserve each other. And the only people I feel sorry for are their kids, because I can't imagine what it was like living with Will and Jada. So you'll probably heard by now that Jada revealed she and Will separated 7 years ago and have been living completely separate lives. But when Jada was asked why she and Will haven't filed for divorce, since they're already living like a divorced couple, Jada said it's because they made a promise to each other that they would work through whatever issues came their way. I made a promise that there will never be a reason for us to get a divorce. We will work through whatever. And I just haven't been able to break that promise. But you still live separately, we live separately. But wait, since when does living separately and sleeping with other people count as working through your marriage issues? I suppose it's their business. But they chose to make it our business as well. People have been criticizing Jada for sharing too much, and for good reason. But let's not forget that 2 years ago, he also published a memoir in which he disclosed a number of outrageous details about his romantic history. To name a few, he disclosed that, while married to his first wife, Cher Zampino, he fell in love with her stalker Channing from 6 degrees of separation, shortly after Sherry gave birth to her son with Will Trey. After the film wrapped, Sherry, Trey, and I moved back to Los Angeles. Our marriage was off to a rough start, and I found myself desperately wanting to see and speak to the stalker. And get this, Jada also remained in touch with Sherry throughout his marriage to her. Sherry and I were in the first few months of our marriage with a brand new baby, and I can imagine that Sherry found this experience to be unsettling to say the least. Jada and Will first met on the set of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in 1990, and Will developed an obsession with Jada from the jump. But she turned him down, so Will went on to marry Sherry, while secretly still obsessing over Jada. But when Sherry suggested divorce, Will tried to fight it, despite knowing Sherry wasn't the one. Will later recalled how after one of his conversations with Jada, he realized she was the woman he wanted all along. But he still didn't want to end things with Sherry. Will said I had to get up from dinner. When I had a realization that I wasn't with the person I was supposed to be with, I was sitting in a stall, and I was crying and laughing uncontrollably, and I knew Jada was the woman I was supposed to be with. But I was never getting divorced. I went back out, sat down with Sherry, and started going back on with my life. But Sherry was fed up with Will by this point, and she ended up filing for divorce, but Will still tried to fight it, and initially refused to sign the papers until Sherry told him, "So you're going to make somebody stay with you who doesn't love you." But get this, the very same day Will signed the divorce papers with Sherry he called Jada, and asked her out on a date anyway. Will admitted in his memoir that he was a horrible husband to Sherry. And he also said that divorce was the worst thing that ever happened to him. Divorce was the worst thing in my adult life. Divorce was the ultimate failure for me. I've been hurt a lot in my adult life, but I don't think anything touches the failure of getting divorced from my 2-year-old son's mother. So yeah, Will obviously has some issues that he needs to work on, because this idea that getting a divorce is somehow worse than staying in a bad marriage is beyond toxic. Also, I want to point out that a lot of people have accused Jada of cheating because of her entanglement with August Alina, while conveniently forgetting to mention that Will admitted in his memoir that he had multiple entanglements of his own. He just never talked about it publicly. Keep in mind, Jada and Will have been living separately since 2016. So if you think Jada was the only one having fun, you are greatly mistaken. But there is one thing that makes Will look better in this situation, and that's the fact that he's never publicly trashed Jada. In fact, every time he's talked about her, he's had nothing but amazing things to say. Jada, on the other hand, has said a lot. And I mean a lot of questionable things about Will, to the point where it's now really starting to look like she's trying to push him to file for divorce, and fans are now speculating that money is the reason Jada is doing the most to get Will to divorce her. In a recent interview with Parade Friday, Jada revealed that she and Will don't have a prenup, and that's because before they got married they promised each other they would figure out all issues that come their way. No matter what, we're going to figure it out, and that's why we don't need a prenup. Jada stated that we will work things out, because she was promising that a divorce wouldn't be necessary. However, a lot of fans are now guessing that Jada does want a divorce from Will, but she doesn't want to start the process because that would make it more difficult for her to collect Will's money. As per a user's theory, Jada is broke if she isn't married to Will. Red Table Talk. Since he is 4 times her net worth and will not divorce her, she is going to go to great lengths to humiliate him and force him into the divorce. Another fan added, "It seems like to me Jada is pushing for a divorce, but since there isn't a prenuptial agreement, Will is staying put." Jada is thought to be worth about $50 million, while Will is estimated to be worth $350 million. Some reports state that if Will filed for divorce before Jada, he would have to give up half of his wealth. This is because, in the absence of a prenuptial agreement, all of your assets, including real estate, investments, businesses, and even reward points, are vulnerable. If Will were to file for a formal divorce, he would undoubtedly lose a sizable portion of his wealth, if not all of it. However, I believe that Will has deeper motivations, including his belief that divorce is a personal failure, and the fact that he is still obsessed with Jada. At least, that's what he wants us to believe given the money. And that during Jada's most recent appearance on the Jay Shetty podcast. I also have a letter from Will. "I may need your help with you. I may have to reenact some words because I feel like you'll be able to channel. I know it wasn't easy to excavate the depths in that way. I applaud and honor you. If I had read this book 30 years ago, I would have hugged you more. I'll start now. Welcome to the Authors Club." Jay read a letter that Will wrote for Jada, in which Will gushed about Jada's strength and pledged to love her even more. "I don't know about you, but I find this whole situation really strange. Like I said, the only people I feel bad for are the kids. Tell me your thoughts on it, though. Do you think Will doesn't want to divorce Jada because he's only trying to protect his money? Or are there deeper issues that we're just unaware of? Let me know in the comments below. Then watch this next video.